What is up guys, Photo Feaver here, and today, as you can see, we are at the NEC in Birmingham for the 2021 photography show. So let's go on and head inside to see what brands have to offer. And I'm going to start right now. So as you can see, most brands are here, just like Nikon and Canon, but there are a few notable exceptions this year. For instance, Panasonic Lumix, but also Manfrotto by Lastolite have decided not to turn up just due to the latest COVID restrictions. So apart from those major brands, most people are here, which is great news to see, especially after the latest pandemic. So let's go and see what other brands have to offer. You have two main hard case manufacturers. You've got Vanguard here, but you've also got Pelican. Now both of them are really good at keeping your stuff secure, and depending on what type of inserts you want, or depending on predominantly the price. As you can see, we've got the foam inserts in this one, which means if you're, for instance, a wedding photographer, you can actually swap around a lot of your gear depending on if your gear grows or shrinks depending on what job you're on. Or you can get the pick and pluck foam, which is a little bit cheaper, but the only problem with the pick and pluck foam is it can get damaged over time. So if you're after something that lasts a lot longer, either get the Vanguard or Pelican case with the divider foam. Here we've got the ZV E10. Now this is more of an interchangeable lens system for the ZV-1. Now this is a really good camera if you're interested in vlogging for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, it's really small and lightweight. It's also got one of very few cameras that Sony make that have actually got an oscillating screen. So there's a screen that comes out instead of tilting, which makes it very different to the A7 III series, and the only exception really is the A7S III. But what makes this particular camera different over the A6600 and other cameras is it's got an incredibly good microphone built in. This makes a large difference if you're especially getting into the industry and you're wanting to start vlogging without a large selection of kit. Obviously, for me today, I've got quite an expensive microphone and a variety of other assortments. But this, all you need is pretty much a camera and the actual shooting grip, which currently is on offer, which is actually £190 off. So here we have the Sony 400mm f2.8 G Master, and then behind me we've got the 600mm f4. Now what makes this particular lens very different from all other very high telephoto lenses is this is the smallest and lightest 400mm f2.8 on the market. That's including the brand new Canon RF one, but also any that Nikon have to offer. So if you're after a really small, lightweight, very telephoto prime lens, then to be honest, Sony is going to be your best bet. So if you guys don't already know, I work at one of the largest photography retailers in the UK, Wex Photo Video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick chat to Lewis, the CEO of Wex, to find out what it's been like to try and organise an event in the pandemic. So what has it been like trying to organise one of the largest stands here at the photography show after the whole COVID situation?
Well, it normally takes quite a few months anyways to get this all going. So if you think about all the challenges we've had, what with supply chain and COVID protocols, it's been a really significant challenge, and some of the team have been very heroic in how they've been able to bring it all together. So it is great to see such a really lovely stand, because they've stocked it up and they've decked it out very well. But I'd say the extra challenges of just making sure everybody's safe has been that much more challenging this year. But I think we pulled it off very well, actually. I think we pulled it off extremely well.
And I've seen there's a great turnout. Have you also seen that? Lots of people turning up at the photography show. Is that been good so far?
I think that the turnout has been really excellent. It's the organisers here have really managed the scheduling and the traffic very well. So you end up with a lot of space, so people can keep their distance. But I think also it's meant that it's helped us to help customers that much better. So you don't have so much waiting around. But it's a full show. And I think we're very pleased so far with the attendance. It's been very good, very encouraging. Customers want to see and try and chat and talk and be demonstrated to and learn new stuff and be inspired. So we're getting a lot of that.
It looks a really good show, and I must say, great looking stand. So
thank you very much.
Well
Thank
done.
you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. We've got so many brands here to see. You've got Fuji, you've got Sony, but most importantly, you have got Canon, which have pretty much stolen the show with the brand new EOS R3, and they've actually got it to show in the show. So what we're going to go do now is go and have a look at the brand new Canon EOS R3. So you can see this is the brand new EOS R3, and I must say it really does feel incredibly well built on your hand. I wasn't too sure, but I must say that magnesium construction that they were talking a lot about really does make it feel incredibly weighty. To be honest, it just feels just like my Canon EOS R5, just with an extended battery grip. Now, I'm going to try and test out the eye autofocus, because that's mostly what I've been really wanting to look to see how well the tracking works. So let me give it a go now. So I must admit, the eye autofocus, I was a little bit preemptive. I wasn't too sure if it was actually going to work very well, but I must say it is actually really, really good. I've just literally focusing on a couple of the people standing just opposite me, and I must say I'm locking onto them, and then when I look away, it stays tracking. But then when I go ahead and release the button, shutter button, it will go ahead and just follow my eye again, which is actually might be really, really handy for a lot of sports and wildlife photographers. So I think this is an incredibly good camera if you're wanting to get either into sports and wildlife, and maybe if you want to really upgrade your gear with the incredible 30 frames per second. So Canon didn't just release the Canon EOS R3 on Wednesday, they actually released 2 new lenses as well to add to their new RF arsenal. Firstly, they've released the Canon 16mm f2.8, which to be honest is pretty much the same size as the 50mm f1.8, but it is pretty much the same price as well. And if you're after an ultra wide angle prime lens, then this is an absolute bargain, coming in at almost £300. And then we've got a pretty much one-of-a-kind lens that is actually brilliant for wildlife and sport photographers. They've released the 100 to 400mm f5.6 to f8 lens. Now this lens is a lot smaller, as you can see. It's a 400mm zoom lens, and it is tiny, a lot smaller than their traditional 100 to 500mm. And it's also a lot more discreet, coming in this kind of jet black colour instead of their traditional white that Canon usually do. Now, I only had the Canon EOS R3 for literally just a few minutes, and I must say I was really impressed, firstly by the build quality, but also of that eye auto tracking. Something that I wasn't expecting Canon to release anytime soon, and it actually worked really, really well in the quick test that I have. But obviously, make sure to stay subscribed, because I'm hopefully going to be making a future video when this camera finally gets released to the public. But let's go out and see what the rest of the photography show has to offer. So here is probably one of my favourite bag manufacturers, Billingham. Now we've got Denise here that will talk us a little bit about their brand new bag, the Hadley Pro 2020, in its new colour.
The new colour has proved to be one of the most successful colours we've launched. The Sage Chocolate, which is this beautiful green behind us here, that was really, really popular. And then we launched this, and it really has gone mad all over the world, actually. It's a canvas material. We use canvas and fiberite, but the navy is actually the canvas, as waterproof of course as anything else. And the reason why it's waterproof there is because we use this rubber butyl middle. It's called Storm Block, and that's the top of the bag, that's the bottom of the material, and inside we put rubber butyl, and that means that water will never go through a Billingham bag. So as well as being really, really waterproof, it's very protective inside as well. But the beauty of it is they're so lightweight, which I think you know because you've used them, haven't you?
Yes, they're actually, in fact, my main wedding bag nowadays.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the main reasons I bought it. It's mostly because of the design. It's incredibly good looking, but it's also the waterproof aspect. If I ever leave my bag out in the rain, I know that all of my gear is always going to be safe, which is really, really nice. So what I really, also another great thing about Billingham is it's how local they are. In fact, because we're here at the photography show, realistically this is only made about 30 miles away, isn't that right?
25 actually,
25 miles away.
25 miles away. The factory is in Cradley Heath, and they've had a few factories. They've sort of had a small one, a medium one, and now they're in quite a big factory, because we sell all over the world Billingham bags. But the ladies, each individual bag is put together by one lady at the end, and I could tell you who makes every single bag. So that's really, really nice.
So they're all handmade, which is really, really nice to see, especially in a manufacturer manufactural world that we live in, where everything is usually mass-produced.
Certainly put together by one lady in the end. So all of the leather work is all hand finished, all the brass work, everything is put together, and then one lady will assemble the bag at the end. They then get a 5-year warranty, if anything goes wrong, but I've never seen anything come back. And the truth is, even a 30-year-old Billingham can still be repaired or made, or things can be done to improve the look. So you can buy new straps and it almost looks like you've got a new Billingham, but they do last forever.
Well, that's really, really good. And if you're more interested to see more stuff about Billingham, I'm actually going to be making a future video about how I've lived with a Billingham over the very, very busy wedding season to how I ended up getting on with it. So let's move on to another brand, Three-Legged Thing. Now, another UK-based brand is Three-Legged Thing. Now, because Manfrotto, one of the world's largest tripod manufacturers, isn't here at the photography show, it's nice to see other brands coming in and supporting photographers. Now, what's really good about Three-Legged Thing is its versatility. It isn't just a simple tripod. You can turn it into a monopod, and it's very customizable, which again, Manfrotto doesn't necessarily do. You have to buy everything separate, which again is very costly. So Three-Legged Thing is a great tripod alternative if you're thinking about buying a very sturdy and very customizable tripod. So this is called the Photography and Video Show, but I've only shown you the photography side of it. So let's move over to Atmos, which is a company that creates field monitors for all you videographers out there. So let's go and find out a little bit more information about their stand. So Atmos do a range of field monitors, starting from the fairly cheap to the very expensive, but they all do different functions, starting off with the Shinobi series. Now, the Shinobi is specifically designed just as a field monitor, so it doesn't externally record, and it comes in 5-inch and 7-inch, which is great if you're just planning on having a larger screen when you're in the field, such as maybe doing a wedding. Moving on from that, you have got the Ninja series. Now, again, it comes in a 5 and 7-inch. Now, what's special about these is they have external record functions, so you can record directly either to an SD or SSD, so you can actually data transfer a lot quicker, and even certain cameras allow you to actually externally record at a higher bit depth. Then lastly, you've got the Shogun. Now, this is the most expensive out of all of them. The largest field monitor, but it's also got the brightest nit of almost 2,200. And again, you've got all of the external recording functions from the Ninja, just on a larger format. So here is the Shinobi 5-inch in action. Now, this is a Panasonic camera connected to the Shinobi 5. And as you can see, you are actually seeing live what the camera is seeing, but just on a larger screen, which makes it a lot easier if you're doing any focus pulling to absolutely nail the focus. Now, a few of the other kind of features that are more interested versus other camera field monitors is you've got focus peaking enabled, which allows you to actually nail that focus without just necessarily relying on your eye. You can live see it via the focus peaking displayed on the Shinobi 5-inch. And it is really nice to come to a trade show where you can actually see these particular products in action. And we've got a really nice display here. I must say, one of the nicest displays so far that I have seen. Fujifilm and both Atmos have done a really good job of displaying their products in a really, really appealing way. Now, to be honest, my favourite travel tripod that I've ever tested on my YouTube channel is this one. This is the carbon fibre Peak Design. Yes, grant you, it is quite an expensive tripod, coming in at almost £530. Even on sale, it's still a fairly expensive tripod, roughly the same price as some Gitzo tripods, but it is a lot smaller than traditional travel tripods, and that's because of the shape of the design of the legs. Now, if you want to know more, I've actually got a video that I'll put in the link in the description that will give you a lot more information on this tripod. But they don't just do tripods, they do a whole range of camera accessories. Something that they're mostly well known for is their strap design. They've got an incredibly unique strap design that is very, very useful because you can take them off when you put the camera in your bag. They've got these kind of little clips, which is what I use on all of my cameras. It's something that I highly recommend, so I'm definitely going to be making a future video on that. But they don't just do straps, they also do camera bags as well. Now, the camera bags are really handy because they are completely waterproof, but they're very well designed. Made out of really nice materials. They're pretty much theft proof for the design of them, but they also look really, really nice, and they're made in San Francisco. So if you're after a camera brand, if you're after a camera bag, then definitely I would say Peak Design is worth having a look at. So if you're thinking about getting any sort of neutral density filters or even circular polarizer filters, then don't think any further than Case. Now, what's special about Case is their magnetic circular polarizer filters. Traditionally, you'd have to screw on every single filter, and let's be honest, a lot of the Polar Pro systems that I have, you have to do that, which can take a considerable amount of time, and especially if you're a run and gun shooter such as myself that does weddings and does corporate events, then you're going to need the speed of using a filter. So what's great about these is they're magnetic. So you get a simple filter here, so this particular one here is an 82mm filter. You can go ahead and just simply magnetic it on the front and you're pretty much good to go. All you'll need is simply the rear step-up ring, and you can get a variety of different step-up rings. So the size I'd recommend is always getting the maximum standard size, which is 82mm, and from that you can just get a variety of different step-up rings from 77 all the way down to 58mm, and through that all you'll need to do is just buy one simple filter for your entire camera kit. And that's why I always recommend Case for anybody that comes into my store, and it's why it's probably going to be my next filter set I'm going to buy. Now, Case don't just do traditional circular polarizer filters and circular filters, they also do a range of square filters as well. And we've actually got a selection here, and they've got their brand new double grad filter. Now, the reason to get a double grad filter is basically half the price almost than a traditional standard filter here. So as you can see here, these are just a simple grads from top to bottom, but this one actually have one on the top and one on the bottom, have two different filter types. So you've got a soft grad here, and then you've got a slightly harder grad. And if we go ahead and just simply place it in the filter, you can use the top section, and then when you want to use this bottom section, it is a lot quicker and easier to use than simply swapping the entire filters. So if you're after something that is more of a all-in-one situation, then I would probably say the new Case double filter is definitely going to be interesting for you. So a company that constantly innovates is Sigma. Now, obviously, there has been a large change in the camera industry in the last couple of years when everyone is turning from traditional DSLR cameras into mirrorless cameras. So companies have had to adapt. Now, traditionally, if you had a look at the Sigma lineup, they had the 150-600 Contemporary and the 150-600 Sport. And that came in Canon EF mount, but also came in Nikon mount as well. But a lot of people are now using either mirrorless cameras from Canon, Sony, or even Pentax. So this is where now finally Sigma have released the brand new 150-600mm for their mirrorless lineup for either Sony or Lumix L mount. Now tell me a little bit more about the features of the this new Sigma lens. Is it anything like the old two, or is it maybe a mixture of both?
Yeah, sure. It shares a lot of mixture of both, actually. So firstly, let's look at the size-wise of it. So we can see from the Contemporary, the Sport of the DSLR versions compared to the Sport now of the mirrorless, it's more or less the same size as the Contemporary. And that was a very good point about the Contemporary. It's how light it was and how
it's almost a kilo lighter than the Sport version. Exactly. So it is a very, very popular lens, and it's also decent, a little bit cheaper as well, which makes it a lot handier for people that are more budget orientated.
Completely. However, saying that, even though it is smaller, there's no features which we haven't tried to cram in, you know. It's the same design in terms of weather sealing as our Sport. It's the same sort of durability as well as our Sport range, but it just shares that same compact size of the Contemporary. The nice thing about it, I mean, this is with the hood, so it looks massive, but if I take this off, there you go. So it's a decent size to it.
You think that's, if we were looking at previously, we had a look at the Sony 600mm f4, and you can see how much smaller this 600mm lens really is, and it has the ability to zoom as well. And you're not really losing a lot in image quality. Now, I am obviously done a previous video on both of the Sport and the Contemporary version, but because this lens has been out, but realistically only a couple months, I haven't got round to testing it yet. So if you make sure to keep subscribed, and we'll be doing a future video on the new Sigma 150-600 for the new mirrorless Sony and Lumix L mount. So as you can see, no one was deterred off by the pandemic. Every single camera bag, apart from a few, turned up. And talking to all of the reps today, you can see that a lot of camera brands are innovating. As you can see, lastly, that's Sigma. You can see they're creating a whole bunch of new lenses. So we're just literally waiting on Canon to finally give them the go-ahead to build the RF lenses that we have all been waiting for. But apart from that, guys, all you need to do now is just like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the future videos that I'm going to be making. But until next time, guys, keep creating.